Coast to Coast.
Your coast-to-coast source for wedding planning and info is live.
The WeddingZilla Podcast.
The WeddingZilla Podcast. Everything and everyone you need to hear while planning your wedding.
Or even just thinking about it. The WeddingZilla Podcast.
Featuring interviews and advice from some of the top professionals in the wedding industry.
Connect. Facebook, Instagram.
Connect on Facebook and Instagram.
At The WeddingZilla.
At The WeddingZilla. And even submit ideas for future episodes. Welcome to the WeddingZilla Podcast.
Hello. This is Wyatt checking in from California here on the WeddingZilla Podcast.
And I'm Matt Johnson checking in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, showboating WeddingZilla today.
Well, today is a very special day because I've been following this our special guest for quite some time. I'm very envious of some of the stuff that he gets to do.
Who's our guest today?
And our guest is Michael Greenburg from he does Spark wedding events in Tampa, Florida, and I call him. He's probably like a light magician. I don't know how you do. Say hello, Michael.
Hey, how's everyone doing? It's an absolute pleasure to be here, Wyatt and Matt.
Yeah, great to have you here, Michael.
So, Michael, I kind of gave you, I guess our listeners a little bit of hype here. But so, talk to us about what are you known for down in Tampa? What are you doing down there?
That's a funny thing. People ask me all the time, describe your company, and it's quite lengthy, to be honest with you. I mean, we're a DJ company at the core, but we're also a lighting company. We do a lot of special effects, and what we're going to talk about today is cold sparkler fountains, which are pyrotechnic simulators, absolutely non-pyro and indoor safe. But we do a ton of stuff with pin spot highlighting, snow machines, battery operated monograms, monogram projection. Why we hadn't even talked about it, but I just got into what's going to be the next thing on the horizon, and I have it here in the box. I haven't even opened it yet, but it's something called AR or augmented reality with projection mapping. So we're really trying to step up the game and bring a lot of excitement and a lot of options to our clients here in Tampa.
Wow, I mean that's quite a bit. So let's start off with the indoor sparkler fountains. So talk to us a little bit about that. What exactly is that, and how does that relate to weddings?
Well, it's a funny story. I was actually at LDI, which is a lighting specialty show that happens in Las Vegas, and I was there with Fuel Lighting, and there was a booth behind me of this company called Sparktacular, and every 15-20 minutes this thing went up, and there was these brilliant sparklers that were shooting up 12 feet up in the air, and I was just blown away by it. And I'm going over there and I'm talking to them, and they're talking about these things for indoor concerts and stage, and these guys are a pyro company, bringing something to the market that's safe for inside. And I went over and I was talking to them, and I wanted to get two of them. I thought it was really cool. I said, listen, I think I could do something with exits. And they're like, no way. No one's going to do this. I said, listen, I want to do exits, maybe first dance. And they actually didn't want to sell it to me. But after some nudging, I actually got in on the very first round of sparkler fountains. And it has been an absolute joy here in Tampa. People have absolutely loved it. We've done style shoots. We've done plenty of fashion shows, bridal shows, and then booking after booking of different weddings, and going out to venues and getting them to approve us to be able to use it for both indoor and outdoor. And so you start seeing first kisses, first dances, and intros and exits. It's gone absolutely crazy. I changed the name of my company from Nature Coast Entertainment to Spark Wedding Events, specifically around these machines. For 2 solid years, I had the entire market on sparkler fountains. People are starting to get in there now, but we've got probably over 50 events completed from 2-unit events all the way up to where we've got 10 going out next week.
Hey, Michael, can you tell me a little bit about when you go into a venue, what obstacles you may have, what approving has to be done? Do you have to demonstrate it for them there? Tell me a little bit about that, how that works.
That's a great question, and that's something that absolutely you never want to surprise a venue with. You don't want someone pulling a fire alarm, during the first dance. So you go in. We actually talk with the operations team. We get them out there. Often we'll do demonstrations, show them what it is. Sometimes we'll actually get the manufacturer, who's a very involved manufacturer, they'll actually send MSDS information if needed over to building safety managers. Should the municipality require it, we do pull permits. Some municipalities do require fire watch, some very specific permits, some very specific, you have to draw up site plans. Sometimes there's some requirements that we have to overcome. But in the end, we're getting great pictures and very, very happy customers.
So once that is approved by the venues, then it can be ongoing, correct? Let's say venue A, approves of your sparklers coming in, then any clients from then on, you already got the approval and the okay to go in there and do it, and now to upsell it to the client as well, correct?
That's absolutely correct. Once the venue says it's okay, we pretty much have open season on that. And one thing that we do try to also instill with our demonstrations is that there are certain manufacturers out there that are not the same as what we use, because we're using the Cadillac model, which is the safest of all of these models. So we want to make sure that they know, just because you're approving us, don't approve Cold Spark across the board. You have to look at each unit individually to make sure that it is safe for your venue, because although it is Cold Spark and you can definitely put your hand in it and touch it, it is a combustible metal. So, you definitely want to make sure that you're doing everything correctly and safely.
Now, is it, when you do it indoors, is there a lot of smoke? What about, how close can people be to it? How does that work?
We definitely want to have people a couple feet away from it. I did 8 units this past weekend, and there was the band right by the stage. So I told them, I want them to just take a couple steps back for when these are going to go off. We actually shoot it to the music. So as the music built up, the sparklers went off, right on cue with the music. And then we inform the bride and groom where we want them to stand. We let the photographers and videographers know where we want them to stand, not just for safety, although it's completely, you can touch it. It's completely safe. I don't recommend it, but you can. But for the best shots, and we want to make sure that everyone is doing everything that we need them to do in order to get this effect for the bride and groom. I've never had an issue. Everyone always follows everything that we suggest, and oftentimes the photographers are very excited because we actually do test shots for them so they can get their exposure right, because these are incredibly bright, and if we don't do that, they'll be overexposed.
So now you were telling me a story, earlier about you have an event coming up, and I think you have 10 units going out, and something about a helicopter. What's going on with that?
Yeah, it's a 10-unit exit on a piece of private property, about an hour and a half for me, and they're going to walk through that to a helicopter and then take off as their exit in a helicopter. I'm blown away by this whole thing.
Yes, it is. It's not like every day you say yeah, you know what? I think we're forget the cars, forget the traffic. We'll just use a helicopter.
That's the thing, is that these units have opened me up to a lot of really interesting experiences, because we're now being called upon by the largest production companies in the area to come in and do these for them as well. So when our Tampa mayor was, after this runoff election was elected, we had 4 units for her when she was announces mayor go off, which was great because it made national news.
I have a technical question for you, Michael. Are these, electric? You have to have electricity plugged in, or are they battery operated as well, where you can just go anywhere? You have to have access to electricity for them.
Not only do we have to have electricity to them, we need multiple circuits, depending on how many units. They do draw quite a bit of power. The newer units that we have draws just over 5 amps a piece. So, we do ahead of time make sure that there is ample power for us, that the gauging is correct, so we're not drawing too much. These do run DMX through all of so we do have to wire all of the units together, and they go into this really cool controller, which, believe it or not, that is battery operated, but this really cool controller that will literally give you the internal temperatures of all of the units, any error codes, everything that you need to know what's going on with the units you can see on this screen. Again, everything's around safety.
And I'm assuming, whether it's yourself or an employee or two that you have is they're the only ones that set them up and operate them. I'm assuming you just don't hand them over to anybody.
That's also correct. There's a whole certification process just through the manufacturer on how to use these, how to safely operate them, how to deal with any issues with them, how to handle the material. And then the controller itself actually has a key, much like a actual pyro controller, so that even when it's ready to go, you can't actually hit fire until that key has been turned.
And how many times can you utilize them throughout the evening? I mean, can you hit a button and it run for 30 seconds, 30 minutes? How does it work?
It's up to about a minute or so continuous, but then you can allow it to cool off and then continue to use it. We do offer multiple events. So if we're already there, they can do what we call an event, which would be a first dance, first kiss, grand entrance, or grand exit, for a fraction of the price of booking them fully, more units. So if they have 4 units, they're going to be able to do an entrance and then maybe an exit later, and we'll just move the machines and get them set up again. But absolutely, if they have them set up for intros on the dance floor and we want to do first dance, we can do that as well.
Wow. All right. And then I think you also you do staged photo shots with the couple too as well, correct?
That actually comes with our pricing structure. As long as it fits in the timeline, we want to work with the photographer, the videographer, and the couple in order to get that picture, because that's walking out with that exit is great. It's great for your guests, but you're not always going to get that perfect picture. They're spending quite a bit of money to have this effect. We want them to actually have that. We've actually done it where after the exit they've drove away and then they came back to do the post pictures.
Wow. Okay. So ballpark, I mean, what would something like this run a couple?
We charge $750 for 2 units for one event.
Oh, okay. All right. And then, so what is the most common package?
Things are changing. Now it's 4 units and dry ice for the first dance. That's a big thing.
What with the dry ice cloud effect?
Yeah, the dry ice cloud effect. So, the dry ice cloud is going to billow out first, then the sparkler fountains are going to go up during the height of the music. And we always try to coordinate it with the song, with either the DJ or the band, whomever we're working with, to make sure that it is exactly right on cue.
And is it mostly your DJs that would be at an event like this, or somebody else, it might be at an event where they've hired another company to DJ, but they're hiring you to do the effects?
Funny thing is we're actually hired often very late in the game. It's something that they want, but they usually book us 30 to 60 days before. So, the band or the DJ's already hired in a lot of times. We are getting further out now, but that's what we have been seeing. I think it's just that the couples wanted it, but they didn't want to spend the money. But now they opened up a little bit of budget, and then they can actually get this. So we're being booked often 30 days before.
Yeah, the reason I asked was because I just want to, like if I were DJing an event and all of a sudden I didn't know, and your crew walks in, they got all these sparklers around my system, I just wouldn't want to freak out. I'd be like, whoa, what's going on here? So
yeah, we get ahead of every vendor. We want to make sure everyone's well aware of what we're doing. My whole company, regardless of what we do, we're kind of over communicators. Mm-hmm. So we have no problem talking with people ahead of time. I tell you something that's funny though. almost all of the time wear a secret from someone. So we're never on the timeline. We're never on the vendor list. And so I have to actually go through and contact vendors and let them know, hey, you can't say anything. Because either the groom booked it for his bride and didn't want her to know, or mom and dad booked it and didn't want the kids to know. But the last couple events have all been complete surprises.
Wow, that's awesome. That's just a wonderful upgrade and surprise for your clients. Must be amazing.
And that must be some serious planning. I mean, you're not on anything, which, I mean, a lot of things could go wrong. I mean, people could forget. I mean, things could slip through the cracks, and being able to coordinate that's a pretty big deal. I mean, I give you some serious applause for that. I mean, that definitely takes a lot of work. Now, with the cold, with the sparklers, now you also do other event lighting as well. So talk to us a little bit about that.
So we do. I mean, gosh, full uplighting, and I think the biggest thing about uplighting is a lot of people don't even realize that they're getting uplighting and it's being done all wrong. If you can go through and see, wall with no light and then a little streak of light and then wall with no light and a little streak of light, they're paying for uplighting. They're not even getting it done right. We do full venue, change. It's, we actually pull up schematics of the rooms and we try to get a light every 10 feet. And our lights do about a 45-degree angle. So we're actually able to get a nice spread on the walls, which makes a big, big difference and looks completely different than probably most of the people in my area. And then another big thing is pin spot highlighting. And that's why I know something where you started following me a long time ago. We used Fuel Lighting Systems, which is the premier product for pin spot highlighting. It's a battery operated magnetic light that not only is it easy to use and is absolutely gorgeous in its color, as far as the color of light, but there's a whole tool system that can allow you to install it into ceilings up to about 22 feet without ever needing a ladder, being able to get in there after florals are set, after tables are set, cakes in there, and you can literally pop in there and magnetically attach to the ceiling. I can pin spot an entire ballroom in about 30 minutes.
Really? And you said you have some kind of tool that you put the pin spot in the end and just sort of hoist it up?
Yeah, it depends on what ceiling we're looking at. So we have air wall plate that goes in the tracks. So I can put 4 lights on there and put it into the pole that I got from Fuel Lighting and literally go right to the ceiling and snap it right in and then focus it afterwards. I can put the light directly into a steel beam. If I need to, the light can actually go onto a ledge. There's virtually no venue that I can go into that I'm unable to do proper pin spot lighting, and I rarely ever have to bring pipe and base.
Wow, that's amazing.
So it completely vanishes into the venue, and this way the florals get lit, the tables get lit, the cake gets lit, and the way I describe it, it's probably the hardest thing to actually sell because it looks so good, but they don't know why it looks good. Because you don't see that it's a light. You just see what you're supposed to see. And you see it at the right color, and it looks right to your eye. Mm-hmm. And, like people have no idea how it's even being done because there's no shadows on it. It's all from above. And if it's, it's coming at a slight angle. So it's not like it's just the center of the flowers. It's hitting the forefront of the flowers. And it's when you turn them off, they're like, oh, wow. Or when you take them down, they're completely blown away.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, when people do not realize, what real pin spotting does. And I mean, you spend all this money on florals, but then you don't even light them up. It's like it's like you make a cake, but then you don't put the icing on the cake. And literally, I mean, I've seen your work. I've seen how you pin spotted them and from multiple different angles, and it looks amazing.
Well, thank you. And it's funny too because I'll walk into a venue and I'll see this like this past weekend was in a beautiful venue, an absolutely gorgeous. They had a wrapped dance floor. They had a beautiful band. They had 8 sparklers. They had a production company did all of the lighting, and it was perfect. but they didn't go, and I'm sure that the production company offered it, but they didn't go with highlighting the florals, and it would have cost them a very small amount compared to their wedding, and all of their florals would have popped, and it would have given that whole wow effect. And I think pin spot highlighting is exactly that. It gives that room that wow effect that you just you don't realize it. It just looks amazing, and you don't know why. And just if you're listening, that's why.
So if you want those photos just like on Pinterest, you have to spend the money and do the pin spots. Finish the job. If you're going to spend the money on the flowers, do the right thing, get the pin spotting, not just on one or two pieces, but you got to pin spot all the tables. And on average, how many tables do you think you have to pin spot?
That's interesting. I always try to get with the florist and find out what the floral design is, because if they're going to have, let's say they have 8 tables that have high florals with the big floral arrangement, and the rest of the tables are all lows with candles, you don't have to do the lows. If you hit the highs, you're in, with 2 lights or 3 lights, depending on how big they are from different angles, you'll make a huge difference. And the lows don't need to necessarily be done, because your eyes are being caught on that scene with all of those highs. And that's, you hit that, you hit the cake, you hit the center, the sweetheart table. That's all you need to do.
Yeah. Now, what about monograms? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, we've gone to projection monograms. So we use high lumen video projectors with basically just JPEG files. And with the right projector, we can put it off to the side. We're able to do what's called keystoning, where we can actually kind of bend the image so it fits on the wall, even from an angle, and have a very, very brilliant, bright, perfect, clean, crisp monogram in any design that they want. We can change it last minute, or even at the venue, add color, have it animated. Projection, monogram projection is by far the best way to do it.
And you can make your own monograms with that, right? You don't have to send out, like a steel gobo.
Right. Yeah. No, and you can take their designs and just incorporate it right in. I just use Photoshop and turn it into a JPEG with the right dimensions. And then you just invert it with a black background, and it, with the right projector, you literally don't see the square of the projector, where the projection image is. You just see the monogram, and it looks absolutely stunning. We still use, the old Source 4s for some architectural lighting. And then I have from Fuel, I've got battery operated gobo projectors that are tiny and small, and they're magnetic, and we can hide them away and do, again, more textured designs.
And those are the ones I have, man. Those things are amazing. I have 4 of them. I really need 4 more, but they're battery powered. You can hang them anywhere. They come in white. You can have the adjustable shutters. They're phenomenal, especially when people roll up and they're like, well, where's that light come in? Well, don't you need to plug it in? I don't need to plug in nothing. So
exactly. And that light that you have too, you can actually, it's modular. You can pop that out and then run a chandelier off of that same battery system.
Yeah, it's simply these lights are like they're the top of the line, bottom line, top of the line. Now, you also with the monitor, since you're doing video, you also you've been doing a little bit of motion video at all with the monograms?
Yeah, I've done a couple. Yeah, I actually don't make those. I do send those out to a company in Texas, but we can definitely do animated or motion monograms, which are a lot of fun. It draws out their names and spells everything out. But that's definitely an easy add-on. But it can be done with a projector just the same as a monogram. It's just a video file.
Now, you mentioned something new that you just got in the mail. Talk to us a little bit about this new technology that you're cooking up that people are going to be probably itching to follow you and check out.
This is exciting because I was on the waiting list for over a year, and this thing it's Lightform makes it, and it basically looks like an Xbox Eye for the Xbox One, and it sits on top of your projector, and then it automatically maps an area, giving dimension, giving you the ability to very quickly add images and video into into the scene that you're working in. So it's called augmented reality. I haven't even taken it out of the box yet, but from what I've seen, it takes mapping what used to take hours to do down into minutes. And it's got a computer brain on board, so you don't even have to have a computer hooked up to it. You can send the file to it over Wi-Fi and have it do whatever it is video-wise that you want it to do in the spaces in which you want to do it.
Swing back a little bit. Talk to us about the mapping, because I think there's probably a lot of couples out there that they don't know what that is. What is mapping?
Mapping is a way of telling the computer and the projector where you want to have your images. So I'm sure everyone's seen that Disney cake where it was a Cinderella scene and there was a whole Disney thing on all the different tiers of the cake. That's all done with projection mapping.
Wow. So this new technology is just really taking things to the next level on a bigger scale of just not doing it just on a cake, but you're probably going to be doing like whole walls.
Correct. You can do walls. You could do it on flowers. One of the things that I even saw that was a really cool idea was basically think of it like a burlap string with some vintage looking blank postcards on there. And you could project just on those cards a video image of both the couple as kids, and maybe they're coming together and they get together in the center card as a couple in their engagement photos. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't even popped it open yet. I think there we'd have to work with, the videographers or what have you to get the right video. But the options are endless on this thing.
So really, you're just kind of like pioneering through this and trying to stay ahead of technology and offer your couple something kind of unique that not probably everybody in your market is offering. Does that sound about right?
It really does. I try to want to lead a trend. I led a trend of pin spots, years ago when no one was doing it. Now people are trying to catch up. Then I started with the sparkler fountains, and for 2 years there was not a single person within 100 miles of me doing these things. And now there's a couple more as they're starting to catch up, and I'm already trying to get on to the next thing, and then the next thing beyond that. To start, what that new trend's going to be.
Now, one thing if our couples have been listening from the beginning of our podcast to the end, one of the things like I guess kind of strikes me is that every time that you're doing this special lighting design or the sparkler effect or any of those types of things, you're reaching out. You're not working, you're not just doing stuff in a bubble, you're not just doing stuff on your own, you're actually reaching out to the different wedding pros that you're going to be working with. And that takes a lot of time.
Absolutely. Yeah, communication is definitely the key here. And regardless of what you're doing, what I always say in the wedding industry, and I've been doing this a very long time, I think possibly longer than both of you. I mean, I've been doing this since 1990. It takes everyone to collaborate together to get that final product for the couple. So the photographer is not the most important one there. The videographer, the planner, the cake person, no one's the most important person there, and certainly not the DJ, especially that DJ's that look at me guy. None of that is important. Everyone has to work together as a team in order to bring that product to the bride and groom. And sometimes there's some stronger members of the team, and sometimes it's a team full of just seasoned pros. But if it's done right, it really, really makes a difference.
I guess what I'm just trying to point out is that, these wedding couples, I want them to understand that, a DJ is just not, he doesn't start just when he arrives and starts setting up. The planning process, the working on your special day starts way beyond that time to the lead up. And a lot of times, a lot of these special things, in order to make them special, to make them unique, to make them pop, you have to spend that upfront time before you actually go do the event.
Oh, that's absolutely critical. I mean, there's so much involved ahead of time that I don't think people realize what's involved with. I mean, we're all DJs here, so we can say that. But I don't think people realize, I can play music. I love music. I'm going to be a DJ. I'm going to go out and buy a couple things, and I'm going to go out there. Playing the music's the easy part. It's everything else that is what's critical. It's I mean, playing the music well isn't always easy, but playing music is relatively easy. But getting the right equipment, I mean, I run almost exclusively wireless sound. I'm always looking again for what's going to make the setup cleaner, what's going to make the experience better. I've gone with some dance floor lights that instead of going with a bar, I literally install them using some of my pin spotting tools, and I install my wash lights in the ceiling. So this way it completely vanishes to the couple and to the guests, so you don't see it. I'm always looking for what's an eyesore and how can we make that look better.
Wow. Matt, did you have any other questions for Michael?
Well, it sounds like Michael's got it going on down there. He's been at it since 1990. Yep, that's definitely longer than I have been doing. I've been DJing since 97. But I wouldn't say my field of expertise is in lighting. The best lighting, I experienced, I used to do Broadway shows for a living, national tours, and a chorus line, when that first came out, that broke ground for new lighting and stage lighting. And, I was always amazed at, Broadway shows and what these people do, and I think what's happening, and people like you, Michael, who are experienced and intelligent in that field, they're bringing like an incredible production, to somebody's wedding if it's in their budget. And it's phenomenal. It's beyond my pay grade, but I'm in awe of, what you can do. It is special, and it certainly is a wow factor on so many levels.
Well, I appreciate that. It really is. When my favorite thing is that first look, that when the bride and groom comes in and they see that the room is exactly the way they envisioned it, or even, way better than they envisioned it. That's truly the pinnacle of what makes you feel good as far as lighting goes.
So, Michael, how can people get a hold of you? How can people find you? How can people book you? What you cover all of Florida, part of Florida. Tell us how does couples get a hold of you?
You can definitely reach us at sparkweddingevents.com or at Spark Wedding Events on Facebook or Instagram. And I cover about 100 miles out of Tampa, so the west coast of Florida for a good chunk of it, and then all the way to central Florida like Orlando. And I've been asked to travel elsewhere, and I have absolutely no problem with it. So we've been as far south as Key West, as far north as, just north of Atlanta. And I have absolutely no problem. I'd love to travel more. Unfortunately, unlike photographers, DJs, you can't throw this stuff on a plane and just fly where you're going. So it takes a little bit more work to get there. But I love new experiences, and I hate cookie cutter. I want to do something new and exciting every single time.
I can't agree with you more. So, Michael, thank you for being on the WeddingZilla. We really appreciate it.
Hey, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's an honor, guys. Thank you for having me on your episode.
Yes, thank you, Michael, and good luck down there, and keep on doing what you do in Tampa, Florida.
The WeddingZilla Podcast.
Everything and everyone you need to hear while planning your wedding. Tons of resources are on our website, too. And you can submit ideas for future episodes.
Visit TheWeddingZilla.com.
TheWeddingZilla.com.
And stay connected.
Stay connected on Facebook and Instagram.
At The WeddingZilla.
At The WeddingZilla. The WeddingZilla Podcast.